Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy. It's my pleasure. As usual, it's always my honor to be greeting you and bringing this message of emancipation to you, whereby I'm pointing you to look no other place but to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. Thus the reason why today I want to speak to you concerning my vindication and authentication of the promise. Now, many people believe in the lectures of Neville, and as a matter of fact, many have used the lectures of Neville and would have actually commercialized the law, and many fail to speak on the promise, because to speak on the promise, you have to be speaking from experience, not from theory. And even Neville himself would have said that many would take his message and commercialize the message. But this message is actually a message of self-realization that must be used to uplift humanity so that they can discover that their real identity is their divinity, and also for them to realize that the Bible addresses the human mind and must be interpreted psychologically, and that the Bible is their spiritual autobiography. And those who have had the experience of the promise, they can identify themselves with the scripture and say that the Bible is the written book, but humanity must come to that place of being the living book. And that's what I want to share with you today concerning my experience. Anyone who's been listening to me for a length of time would have always heard me speak about my experience of the bird from the skull, just as Neville would have had that experience. But there are other experiences that Neville would have had, and some of those experiences, I'm now going through those experiences. Like, for example, when I had the bird from the skull, sometime after I had the experience where my son appeared to me in a dream and called me father. And that's when I get to understand that it's only the father can reveal the son and only the son can reveal the father. But my most recent experience took place on the 11/11. Okay, and presently I'm writing a book called The Secret Vagina, and in that book I have a chapter called 11/11, where I explain what is really and truly the real meaning of 11/11. But the 11th month and 11th day, I will have had an experience which I would like to share with you from the scriptures, because it is scriptural. And the reason why I call it vindication and authentication of the promise is because it's a continuation of the promise to prove everything that I'm saying to you, and to help you who are listening to me to be strengthened and to come to realize that you're not following someone who's speaking from theory, and to also let you know that every seed and every species would all reproduce after its own kind. And once you really believe what I'm saying and you really resonate with the message I'm bringing to you, you are in the right place, and great things can happen in your life as long as you believe, because you'll always receive the benefit or the reward of a prophet when you receive a prophet in the name of a prophet. And when I say a prophet, I'm speaking about one who have come to the discovery of his prophetic self and teaching others to look within themselves to discover their prophetic self also. That's a true prophet. Okay? Now, I would have had this experience prior to someone who would have called me earlier in this same year. And this person lives all the way in England. We have never known each other before until that person started following me on YouTube many years ago. As a matter of fact, the reason why I say many years ago is shortly after I would have started my YouTube channel, she was one of the only person who would have found my channel and been following the channel even to this day. Okay? And so she reached out to me with a dream that she would have had, whereby she saw the police and those of the so-called system of the so-called law, which is the judiciary kind of law that they make up to keep the people subjected. And in that dream, she saw how they were mistreating me and reviling me and physically manhandling me and so on, beating me and so on. And she told that dream to me, and I said to her, it is the story of the Christ, knowing that I would have gone through my Christ experience. And so when I had this experience now of the same dream that she would have had, I know this was the vindication. When I wake up, I was inspired that everything that would have happened in the dream is in the Bible, and I would find my answer. And I did find my answer in Isaiah chapter 53. Okay, so it was the 9th of the 10th of the 11th month that I went to bed after 12 in the night. And the last thing when I wake up in the morning was me coming out of that dream. That is why I said to you it's 11-11 experience, okay? Because I was having that dream coming to the break of morning when I was gonna wake up, okay? And so in that dream is actually everything that I'm gonna read to you from Isaiah 53, and that is what was taking place in my life. And the last person I was handed to for the final accusation and for the branding was a pastor who I know in this country. He was the last person gonna pass the last verdict for my rejection, my condemnation, and so on. Okay? So I've come to realize that the resurrection, the virgin birth, all these things will take place first in your life before you go through your Garden of Gethsemane and your rejection and all of that. But the entire Bible is your spiritual autobiography. That's the real lesson I really wanted to get from what I'm saying here to you. Okay? And so I'm here vindicating what Neville would have taught and what Abdullah would have taught Neville Goddard also. And I remember I did a video and said that Neville spoke about me, and some people scoff at it, laugh at it, you know, because many people try to think of a person based and sometimes their nationality, their race, and all of these things, and miss the true message of freedom. Okay, so in Isaiah 53 it says that who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? This of which I'm speaking can only be known through experience. You can never know it by any other way. So that there are not much people who are going to believe when we share this truth with them. That we come to that place whereby we know that we are God the Father, and all of humanity as a little child would have come to us and called us Father, and we know that that is signified in the Bible as David. Okay? So you cannot know this unless it's been revealed to you through experience. For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He had no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we shall desire him. So there's nothing special about myself. There was nothing special about Neville or anything special about Abdullah, or anyone who come to this awakening. We are just ordinary men and ordinary women who will come into discovering our higher self and share our message to humanity, to uplift humanity and to encourage humanity to rise higher, to vibrate higher by changing their mentality from negativity to positivity, and from looking outwardly to looking inwardly, and to accept the fact that it is their own thought that is creating their reality, and that they can create their reality consciously. Okay? Now verse 3 says, he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised and we esteemed him not. Many people left Neville Garden and wouldn't even listen to him when he started speaking about the promise. But everyone wanted the bread and fish. Everyone wanted to strive on the law. And we can plainly see that today. There's so many people that are misleading people on how to get back an ex, and how to find love, and how to get a specific person and all of that, which I'm not against it, but some people would have blown it out of proportion. Okay? And so they keep people still vibrating on the level of just chasing after the materialistic world, which is this illusionary world, instead of seeking first to discover the kingdom, seeking to know who they are first. Okay? So this whole thing is supposed to be about self-realization and understanding the Bible is our spiritual autobiography. Now verse 4 says, surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. Those of us who are bringing this message from a genuine heart of love, we are feeling the pain, and we are feeling all the struggles that people are facing each and every day, because our eyes have been opened and because we are seeing clearly how the system have the people bound and trapped in a box, and how many are trapped in the matrix and become prisoners in the maze. And so it can be a hurtful feeling for us, while many a time we who are giving love, many would reject us and afflict us by the things they will say against us. And all of that is what I was experiencing in this dream. Okay? He said, but he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with the stripes we are healed. Every time I come here to speak to you, it is because I would have gone through hell. It is because I would have gone through so much and bear all of the pains of this life to be able to come to that place where I was ready to face my true self and to have the Christ experience, and to bring the message of freedom to you, the message of true salvation, which is self-realization to you. And those of you who are hearing me, you are very blessed to be a part of this work and to be a part of this ministry that have come forth supernaturally with all of its vindication and authentication. Now verse 6 says, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. Each and every time I share my experience with you, I'm sharing with you that I was just like you. One who been gone astray, one who been led astray. Because we're born in this world in a state called amnesia, and we didn't know who we are. And the system has been set up in a way to lead us astray, not knowing the true shepherd. They have used the educational system to lead us away, the political system to lead us away, and the so-called church system or religious system to lead us away from discovering our true self, our higher self. And it wasn't until I would have awakened from the dream of life that I could have tell you that I am come to bear with you and to encourage you that there is hope. But above hope and faith is love. So that is why you're encouraged to abide in hope and faith, these three. But out of faith, hope, and charity are love. The greatest of these is love. So they had us vibrating on the energy of fear. But there's always one who can turn on the light and bring you to vibrate under the energy of love. Verse 7 says, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearer is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. And so when I was going through all of these experiences in the dream, I would not open my mouth, even though I was oppressed and I was afflicted and I was accused. I knew that there was a power in me that I could have used, and I refused to use that power. I remained in silence. You see, silence and listen is the same word. You have to listen to your higher self, your inner self, when you go into silence. That's why even Neville encourages you to go into the silence. They had us so busy doing everything, chasing after money, that they have us busy speaking to a God outside of ourselves, wrapped up, tied up in church system, instead of going into a place of silence, instead of going into the secret place, into the closet, into the place where the Father dwells, which is our innermost being, instead of going there for solace. They had us looking to an outside God. But there's one here, as I said before, can turn on the light and point you to your true self. Verse 8 says, he was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. Yes, this world here is a prison. And when you vibrate from humanity into your divinity, you have come out of prison. But you must have an escape plan. There's a movie with Sylvester Stallone and Anna Schwarzenegger and so on called Escape Plan. That movie is all about this whole life and coming to self-realization. And all of the systems they will have put in place to keep you trapped and keep you bound. And many people give in and decide to stay a prisoner for the rest of their life. But there's always those who are the star boys, as we call them in movies. There is always the Stallones and the Schwarzeneggers in terms of the movie. But in the spiritual world, there are always those who come to their Christ self. There are always the Jeremiahs, the Isaiahs, the Shadrach, the Meshach, the Abednego, the Daniels. All these are states of mind. And there are always those who will vibrate into those states of mind and free themselves out of every prison, out of every cage, and turn their backs on all of their lions, which is their circumstances and their situations, because they learn to go within. Verses 9 say, and he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his tongue. It is teaching you that when we speak from experience. We speak of that which we know, because we would have experienced in John chapter 3, the birth from the skull. And when we speak from love, because we care. There are many people in this world who do not care about themselves to understand the generative principle, but we're here to teach you of the generative principle so you can create your reality consciously. And we must suffer the pain before we can have that victory. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Truly, my brother and my sisters, there has been a lot of grief. There's been a lot of pain. Because we grew up in ignorance, which is sin. The only fundamental sin in this world is not knowing who you are. And because we did not know who we are, we suffer a lot of pain and we suffer a lot of grief. But there is always a way of escape, because God would never give a man more than what he can bear. So each and every one of us, we go through situation, but we were more than able to bear what we would have had to face. And now we are overcomers. If you're listening to this message right now, you're an overcomer. If you're listening to this message right now, you're a chosen one for this time, this season, because there are many who haven't ready as yet to receive such a message of this magnitude. It is a blessing for you to know the mystery of the kingdom, according to Matthew 13, I think. But for the others, it's parables, because they're not ready to know the mysteries of the kingdom. Let me read verses 11 for you. He says here, he shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied by his knowledge, and shall by my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Many of you, as you listen to the message of self-realization of one who have come to his true Christ consciousness, you are feeling so justified, knowing that there is no condemnation, knowing that God and man are one, knowing that God is your own imagination, the creator in each and every one, and knowing that you are to be the savior and redeemer of yourself. There's one here who's teaching you how you can turn on the light within yourself. Now, the last verse, which is verses 12, it says, therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the soul, the spoil, and he shall, let me read it over. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he had poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Each and every time one like myself would have had the awakening experience, when we use our time wisely to bring messages like this to all of humanity, it is because we are in intercession with you, for you have transgressed the law, not knowing that the golden rule of life is to do unto others as we have them do unto you, and not knowing the laws that governs all of humanity and the laws that governs the universe. Therefore, many of you are out of alignment, and it takes people like us to bring the light to you, to say to you, to look within yourself for the answers of life and to get back in alignment, to let you know that you cannot expect transformation in your life if you have the mindset of the world or what the world wants to give in terms of the system, but that you must be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So we are the ones who must cry aloud, and we are the ones who must bear the pains of rejection and condemnation from the religious minds to get this message across to you. And we must come out victorious and divide the spoil, because we have overcome. We have conquered all our kings, and we are sharing the wealth with you. We are sharing the pearl of great price with you by pointing you to look within yourself, to discover your higher self, and to live the best version of yourself. So this whole chapter is speaking about you, and the whole Bible is your spiritual autobiography. But it must not be known just by theory. It must be by experience, and I would have had that experience. And I'm so glad that it is vindicating and authenticating my ministry. That's the reason why I said that it is my vindication and authentication of the promise, because it's the continuation of the promise. And I know the time gonna come when the dove gonna come and kiss me all over. But you see, they tell you that the last thing that happened to Christ was his death. But I'm saying to you, the first thing I would have experienced, and his resurrection, they told you. But the first thing that happened to me was the resurrection. Okay? And they give you the birth first, and the resurrection last. But the birth, the resurrection, all of those things take place on the same night. And now I'm at another level again, having had this experience, and I'm sharing it with you. So with that being said, my brother and my sisters, I think I've been saying a lot. And I want to really thank you very much. And all I just want to do is reiterate the message that Abdullah would have taught Neville Goddard, that take him from one level to another level. So I just want to say to you, it is not just about learning about the law and using the law to get what you want, but it's to having the desire to vibrate higher and to come to know your true self, so you will have true happiness. Because at the end of the day, money can never buy true happiness. True happiness must be found within. Okay, so with that being said, I want to say to you, if this is the very first time that you're listening to me and you haven't subscribed already, I would like to say to you, subscribe, like, comment, to share this video. Also, I just want to let you know that this message I bring to you, that it is the single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew 6:22 says that if your eye be single, your whole body will be full of light. And it is because my whole body was filled with light, and that single eye would have awakened within me, why I am able to bring this message to you, saying to you that when you have the experience, that you would feel that great and mighty shaking, and you would hear the unhealthy wind. Also, you would ascend like a fiery being, and you would come out of your skull and become invisible. And you would be able to tell the story of the Bible as your biography. That's the reason why I always put my hand right above my crown chakra and give you the symbol of the single eye, saying to you that when you have the experience, that you will come to realize that it is the rising of the S-U-N in a S-O-N, and that it is the dawning of a new day in your life. For the sun, as in the S-U-N, parallels the human imagination, and the human imagination parallels the sun. For without the sun, there is no life and there is no light. And without the human imagination, there isn't anything made that was made. And you're told in Psalms 84:11 that the Lord thy God is a sun and a shield, and no good thing will he withhold from you. And truly the Son has never withhold any good thing from you. For the Son is what powers all of humanity and give all of humanity its energy. Then in Malachi chapter 4 verses 2, you're told that the Son of righteousness shall arise in you with healing in his wings. And that is why when the Son has risen in me, I'm bringing healing to all of humanity. Saying to each and every one to look inwardly and to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your creative power, which is the sexual power. Use that power to achieve your every desire. For that was the message that was taught to Neville Goddard by Abdullah, our ancestor from Ethiopia. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, I'm out.